I can't do anything until I find what I'm missing. I've torn apart my room looking for it, ripping out the floorboards, stripping the wallpaper, leaving me with splinters and bloody fingertips. I don't know what's wrong with me. I sat down and watched the blood speckle the floor. How pretty, I thought as I stared at my fingertips deep into them. Something was shimmering in the corner of my eye. Looking up, my eyes fell upon the razor. I slowly picked it up, marveling at how the light bounced off of it. After slitting my wrists open and peeling back the skin, I felt I was so close to finding what I was missing. The pain pumped through my body, but I embraced it with open arms. I felt more at ease. And then it clicked, and my pupils dilated, a blissful smile cracking across my face. I breathed in the scent of iron, and the thing I was missing ran shivers down my spine, just out of reach. I was missing my mind. And maybe, just maybe, if I looked for it in places like this. With that, I stood up and gently opened my closet door. The costume for Jane the Killer was on the body mannequin I had brought back from school to finish. I had become an avid Creepypasta fan lately and suggested we do short horror plays based off of creepypastas. Everyone loved the idea. In fact, I had become quite popular lately because they were such a hit. And then it had to get ruined. It wasn't my fault that the male teacher's staff, I slashed the dress shorter with my scissors, were pigs. I thought about all the names I'd been given lately due to the rumors. Slut, freak, whore, pathetic, sad, crazy. Each name created a new horizontal streak of red on my arm. It didn't matter that Mr. Pileski, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Den were facing life in prison. It didn't fucking matter that they were gone because the damage they had left was a scar. Nobody got it. Nobody could even grasp the pain. I remember being in court that day, breaking down and confessing this wasn't the first time I'd been violated by a man, much less a man who was dressed like a monster. I was choking so hard on my own tears that I threw up. There's no such thing as beautiful misery, and they took my father away that same day. He was kicking and screaming in the arms of the police, lashing out about how I was more of a slut than my mother, who should have been there for me but had left 16 years ago. This shouldn't be happening to me. Yet, here I am, dealing with these delusional teenagers who are labeling me blindly because of what they heard. Ugh, they know nothing. The rage drove me to my scissors as I dragged it across the top of a lovely cocktail dress, cutting off the sleeves. I stepped into the cut-up slip-on and was pleasantly surprised to find how snugly it fit. Oh, I'm sure the drama club wouldn't mind if I made a few alterations, I said, picking out a pair of black thigh-high socks. I am in charge of costume design, after all. Looking at my full body image in the mirror, I was pleased. The only thing I was missing was, Oh, but of course. I selected a large cutlery knife from the kitchen and opened the door out of my house, stepping outside without shoes, just socks. Heels really weren't my thing anyway. And with that, I slipped into the night. Halloween night. I was never going back to that house. Nobody would miss me, and I was glad to be free. I moved swiftly, hiding in trees and under porches, watching the busy streets strewn with color and costumes. The beautiful fall colors shone and blended in the streetlights, like guts. My eye was twitching as shadows tried to grab at me just inches away from my ankles. My sanity, someone stole it. I clutched my knife and loosened my grip. Some bastard stole it. Well, I guess I'll just have to look inside them and take it back. Simple logic, right? The first victim was a teenager my age, around 16 or 17. There was a party going on inside the house, and he was standing outside on the phone, talking to his girlfriend, I presume. I emerged from the shadows and swayed over to him. Upon looking at me, he said something about how he had to go and clicked the end button. What's a cutie like yourself doing alone walking at night? Especially Halloween night. You know there's probably extra freaks out. With that, he took a step forward and looked me up and down. I was broiling on the inside. Oh, great. Another sex-driven teenager. I tilted my head slightly, saying nothing, and flashed him a smile, motioning for him with a come-hither finger as I walked back slowly. My long, loose blonde curls fell over the side of my face, The softness reminded me of flesh, and I had to restrain myself from going into a frenzy. He smirked and followed me like a mouse into a cat's paws. More like a rat, really. I giggled at my own thoughts. "What's so funny?" he asked. I leaned against a fence, now out of the vicinity of the party and any people, and smiled, running my black nails up his arms. My stare enticed him closer. I wasn't sure how I had done it, but it's like I had put him into a trance. I marveled at this newly acquired skill. My dad was crazy, but he had often told me stories about how my mother was a succubus named Lilith or something, a powerful demon. Which was crazy, of course, but a succubus was what I had seemingly become, and I liked the name and the sound of it. I laughed out loud again, kissing the boy lightly. Only for a moment, though. Extending my fangs, I bit through his lip. He tried to scream, but I cut it off. Literally, I knifed him through the side of the face. With that, I grabbed him, dragging him into an alleyway, and gently started cutting up and down his arms, my hand over his mouth, the knee, and his gut. The violently administered slices caused him to gasp and scream, muffled under my palm, of course. I was admired by my own strength. As I created the vertical slits down his arm, I stained the white picket fence with beautiful shades of red. My mind was acting up without my medication, and I could see them. The doctors called them illusions, but they were real. And they were hell. The eyes. One eye, watching me from a hole in the fence, looked impressed, or scared. However, I couldn't find my sanity in his arms. So I swiftly replaced my knee with the knife, and I twisted, letting his intestines spill out onto the ground. His last breath kind of had a little of insanity, life. I breathed it in and felt normal. Better than normal, actually. I felt excited. Draining someone of something that had been stolen from me? This was a drug. This was fun! Withdrawing the knife and giggling, I slit his throat, breathing in the iron scent once again. "Don't you know there's more freaks out on Halloween?" I said with a tisk-tisk, licking the blade clean. A man walked by the alleyway on the sidewalk, not even noticing the corpse less than 10 feet away from him, hiding in the dark shadows of night. My next victim. I followed him almost halfway home as he talked on the cell phone, slinking in the shadows between all the kids casually. I didn't have to hide. It was Halloween, after all. Waiting for the perfect opportunity, I came up behind him as he turned down a dirt road, and with a thick tug down his chest, I inhaled the scent of a fresh cut. A scent that was beginning to grow on me. His helpless whimpers turned into gurgles as I poked around in his chest cavity like a treasure chest. Every poke I made while he was alive went straight to my coal-black soul like an energy boost. I felt his heart while it was beating, and as it slowly faded, I tilted my head back and breathed in my stolen sanity, the life from this man. I sat there for a few minutes, my mind completely altered from human now. I stood up slowly, throwing his body into the nearby canal and skipping away to the sound of police sirens. My name is Marcy the Maniac. Do you have my sanity? 'Cause if you do, you're fucked.